Hello, Mike.
Hello.
So, we've talked ages ago about doing a bit of a little interview with you, sort of a get to know your guide. So, are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Totally.
Okay. So, the first question is tell us about yourself, where you're from, and how you ended up in Bath.
Oh my goodness, it's kind of a long story. I'll keep it short. I'm from East Yorkshire originally, in the northeast. I spent 14 years living and working in London with a 3-year gap in York. And then about 11 years ago, I was working in London and decided to quit my job and got offered a job I could work from home. And I decided to move to Bath entirely on a whim, just because I thought it was a really nice city where I could set up my home office and enjoy the environment. And I thought I'd come for about 6 months, maybe 2 years, and here I am 11 years later, married with a mortgage, so I'm not going anywhere.
So, you're kind of here for a while, you think?
Oh my goodness, yes. Bath is home, and it became home very quickly. I made a lot of really good friends here, and obviously we set up Savouring Bath here with the help of Jennifer, who founded the business, and we've expanded it so much that it is just, it's such an integral part of my life now, and Bath, you know, it comes hand in hand with that, and I love living in the city. I really love it so much. I have no intention of moving on, and certainly not anytime soon anyway.
So, that kind of takes me to my next question, which is why Bath? But I think you sort of answered that a bit. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that Bath, certainly when it comes to what we do with Savouring Bath, is more of a melting pot of culinary creatives than we often give it credit for. Bath has been a tourist city for 2,000 years, and there's been a strong social scene here. So, for the duration of that time, so of course it is going to attract people who are trying out new things with food to keep people interested. So, you know, we work with 40 different businesses across the city who are producing and/or retailing handcrafted product. And with that kind of melting pot of culinary activity, it's kind of a no-brainer that we showcase that to people who are both visiting and to locals who don't connect with the city so easily. We get a lot of people coming on our tours who have either just moved to the city or just want to connect with it a bit more. And it's amazing how many of those locals we take around that say, oh my goodness, we never knew this was here, or we walked past this so many times and we never tried it. And that is one of the most rewarding parts of my job, to connect those local residents with businesses that really need them, especially at the moment, but also who are just producing really amazing food and drink product.
yeah. Well, that's quite a good answer, Mike. How did you end up getting involved with Savouring Bath? So, can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so in 2014, I qualified as a regional tourist guide, and that had been a long time coming. I'd considered that since the early 90s, and 2014 just brought that opportunity. Then in 2015, having qualified, I wrote a historical based food and drink tasting tour, because I thought, well, nobody's doing this in Bath. It seems like quite a novel thing to do. I can't even tell you where the idea came from. I think I was just reading something about Georgian food, and I came up with this 1.5 hour tour. Anyway, around the same time, Jennifer Dugdale, who is from San Francisco originally, was setting up, unbeknown to me, Savouring Bath. And over time, we connected. Over sort of the next 6 to 8 months, we became friends through doing same but different. She had set up a similar business in Provence, which had been very successful, moved to Bath to finish schooling her kids. And when I got to know her, she was already sort of considering going back to France because she really missed it. So she said to me, would I like to take on the business? Which I obviously did. And we've continued growing it since then. We still keep in touch with Jennifer. In fact, she's bringing a group to do a Savouring Bath tour next year because she works in group travel now from France. They're a group of Americans actually, but they happen to be coming to Bath. So I'm really excited about seeing her again. And we do stay in touch with her. She occasionally messages us, and I'm really excited about her seeing how much Savouring Bath has grown over the last 5-6 years, whatever it's been since she left us.
Well, that will be fantastic, I think, won't it? Okay, so going back a bit, what kind of made you become a tour guide to begin with?
Oh my goodness, that's going back 30 years now. I mean, I was 17 when I first started working in group travel. My first job was actually with a concert travel company. I used to take groups of teenagers to pop concerts around the country.
No way.
Oh my goodness, I saw some real 90s iconic bands. I mean, we're talking Vanilla Ice and New Kids on the Block here.
No way.
I did that for about 2 or 3 years, and then I moved to London and I started working in visitor attractions. So I was a guide at Madame Tussauds for a while.
right.
And then I started doing open top bus guiding, and then I went into package travel, and I worked for a series of different tour operators, one for about 10 years actually, and then another 12 years, which eventually ended while I was in Bath. So I still work a little bit in package travel, but of course out of lockdown, because we're not allowed to do the whole group travel thing at the moment so easily with foreign visitors, and I work mostly with North American markets. Now, I gave up that group package travel work mostly in 2017, but when I bought Savouring Bath, and when we started to expand the business, I also got married that year, so I wanted to be closer to home. But I realised very quickly that it had become such a big part of my life, going out on coaches and travelling around the UK with groups of foreign nationals and sharing this amazing country with them, that I was actually contacted by 2 or 3 different package travel operators to ask if I would work for them, because they'd heard that I'd left this previous company I'd been with for 12 years. And I actually took on one of them, who I now still work for, hopefully after lockdown is eased completely, and when foreign nationals are allowed back into the UK, I'll be going back to work for them as well. But I only do 4 tours a year, so it only takes a month out of my year. And it's something I really, really love. So I'm hoping that that'll start again next year. So it's been kind of a long journey, and going back to the beginning, I don't know, I think, to answer your question, I like talking about our country. I think we have an amazing country. I have a theatre background, and I purposefully gave that up in 2004 because I thought, this isn't happening for me. And I remember consciously thinking, I don't want to do this anymore, because I don't want to flog myself for something that is in such a competitive industry.
Yeah.
And what I should do is focus on travel, and then I can go off and travel the world and come back and make amazing theatre that's inspired by those travels. Of course, that was 2004, and I still haven't got beyond the English Channel. But the main thing I realised was that travel is always, and travel and tourism is just something that I've always really, really loved, and I've never looked back. And to be quite honest, theatre is still in my blood, but the show goes on every day as a tourist guide.
Yeah, it's very true. Actually, it's quite a lot of useful skills in theatre that you can be easily applied to tourism.
Yeah.
And so, what was your training like when I know you've done different kinds of tour guiding, but I know you're also a blue badge guide. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so a blue badge tourist guide qualification is regionalised, and I lived in York for 3 years in the middle of living in London for 14 years. And York was always one of those magical places when I was a kid that I would go to, and I would just find so fascinating. So while I was living in York, I really wanted to do my blue badge course there. I considered it in London as far as back as the early 90s, but it was so expensive for me in my early 20s at the time that there was just no way that was going to happen. So when I was in York, it became a bit more a reality for me, but they hadn't run a course for 18 years. So they were trying to get one off the ground, but it just never happened. And then by 2014, I'd moved to Bath, and a course in York became a reality. And the year that they were going to run it, I went up and I had my interview to get on the course, and I was really excited, but then the course failed at last minute because they didn't get enough applicants. Now, I actually went ahead the following year, but by that point I was just at a place where I wanted to do this course, and they happened to be running the course for the Southwest that year, so I jumped on that and I managed to get a place and qualified. And then the following year, when they said they were going to run a course for York, I was really excited about it, but I realised that having spent a lot of money to qualify for the Southwest, and now that I was very much ensconced in Bath, York wasn't really going to work out for me. So the blue badge in the Southwest covers Cornwall, Devon, Dorset, Gloucestershire, Wiltshire and Somerset, but in reality I only guide in Gloucestershire, Somerset and Wiltshire because it's mostly day work. But I use that qualification for so much more, and in fact it really feeds into what I do with Savouring Bath, because you learn content and you learn to some degree to present yourself in a guiding context, and it just builds your guiding skills and the skill set you need to engage people, and the practice you get from that course is really invaluable. So it was very useful. But then of course also I went on, after I qualified as a blue badge guide, to qualify with the World Food Travel Association, who connect food tourist guides around the world, and they have a short certification program which I did in 2019 I think. So I now have that qualification as well, and more recently I've started a series of studies with the Academy of Cheese, because we started our cheese tour very recently, and I qualified with them firstly in 2020, and then they have a 4-level training program, so I did level 2 in January, February of this year, and that's really expanded my cheese knowledge. So I'm really using that now with our cheese tour of Bath.
So it's quite a lot of different kinds of training that you've sort of amalgamated, and is it quite a lot of study involved? Quite a lot of
Somebody once said to me when I first started training for a tour operator, this is sort of 1996, that your research starts and it never stops. And that's so true. And we're training new guides to work with Savouring Bath now, and that's the first thing I've said to all of them, because you are constantly accruing new knowledge. And somebody on a tour this morning actually said to me, you must have to learn an awful lot. And my response to that was really that hospitality businesses, food and drink businesses are opening and closing all the time, not just in Bath but all over the world. And so you constantly have to keep yourself updated with what's going on across the industry in the city in order to make sure you're highlighting the best of what the city has to offer. So that renewal of knowledge is definitely an ongoing process.
And so the history doesn't so much change, although they do occasionally find things like there's the Roman baths archway project, and obviously they just found some sarcophagi.
That's right. They just found a Roman sarcophagus just on the edge of the city centre. So of course that's going to add to our history in the city and really highlight our Roman heritage in the city, which a lot of people gloss over because Bath is very much an 18th century city as we look at it today, and people come for the Jane Austen heritage and the period literature, but actually there is so much more than that. And the Roman history in Bath is fascinating, and I think the fact that they've now found this amazing Roman burial, which is pretty much intact, is going to put a big spotlight on that period in Bath's history.
Yeah, and it's also, I think, it helps to, when tourists and visitors and new people, as you say, come to move to the city, even though these are old ruins that they're finding, there's still new things to be found. There's constant change, I think, which is quite interesting. And it must be fascinating as a tour guide to be able to highlight some of that as well, in addition, as you're walking around.
And especially when it's new like this, people are really intrigued, I haven't shared that information on a tour yet, but of course I will be doing, because it's so fresh and so new.
Yeah.
And I've seen people react to stuff like that before with such fascination, and to know that something like that has been found that is 2,000 years old, or as good as, it really inspires people.
Yeah, no, it's very true. It's an interesting add to the city. Okay, so right, top 3 favorite hidden gems.
Oh my goodness. Food, what, just in general or food wise?
You're free range on this question, Mike.
Okay.
You could say anything.
Hidden gems, there's some historical stuff and there's some physical stuff. So one of my, joint first favourite restaurants in Bath are Jar's Mezzo, which is a Greek family restaurant hidden away in Northumberland Passage, Northumberland Place, and it's an amazing showcase of Greek flavours, which I always say, food has this amazing ability to transport you in your imagination. And the family at Jar's Mezzo are from Corfu, and it doesn't take long for me to be sat at one of their tables with an amazing array of food and colour in front of me and flavours that in my head I'm on Corfu, and I used to work there, so I'm very familiar with the island. But also joint number 1 I would say is Corkage, who are a restaurant in Queen's Square, Chapel Row. And these guys are showcasing some amazing wines, and they also kind of set the small plates industry rolling in Bath with their first restaurant, which was in Walcott until it closed during COVID. And there's just an amazing array of wonderful flavours and totally photographable, Instagrammable dishes of small plates there to accompany this incredible cellar of wines. Number 2 in my top 3 gems is a bit of history, and there's some amazing food heroes in Bath. People like Dr. Oliver often get centre stage, but there's some modern food heroes too. People like Maxwell Colonna, who's doing amazing stuff with coffee, Commons, who are doing amazing stuff with tea, and then we've got some amazing bakers as well, such as Duncan Glendinning, who is just showcasing the most fabulous bread. Richard Burtonet as well, who is also a very well-known celebrity baker in the city, who's teaching people at the Burtonet kitchen to do amazing things with both baking, patisserie, and all sorts of other classes. but we've also got some really incredible historical food heroes, such as Charles Gill, who also often gets looked over, and we showcase him on our Food Heroes tour. And the stories surrounding him are both hilarious and fascinating. He was just this character who was a larger-than-life individual who never intended to start out on a food career, but somehow did and became famous for it. And number 3 are
Sneaky
building.
Mike. This is really 4.
No, this is number 3.
Okay.
Number 3 is our physical heritage, and the buildings across the city, I think, just have this amazing look about them. And I don't have one that I want to highlight, because Bath stone, which was used to construct most of the city in the 18th and 19th century, just has this incredible glow about it. And one of my favourite writers, J.B. Priestley, who was a playwright, once said that there is no colour that can be used to describe it. He said it is like it has the lost sunlight of centuries glimmering about it, and I think that is just the most amazing way of describing how the stone used in the architecture of the city really reflects the sunlight and makes the city honey-coloured no matter whatever the weather, and a warm, a wonderful place to be.
Okay, I'll let you get away with that sneaky 4th one. So the last question: if you were stranded on a desert island, what food and drink would you be happy to have on repeat, like it was coming out of a magic box, until you were rescued?
No question, mum's lasagna.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Your mom's lasagna?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Well, thank you
It
very
might
much.
be a boring answer, but it is the truth.
You've won brownie points with her, Mike. Well, thanks very much, Mike, for chatting. It's been really nice for letting me pick your brain and hear some of your answers. And yeah, we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.